High above the streets, perched on ledges of stone, they watch in silence. Cold eyes, twisted forms, guardians, or monsters. These are gargoyles, figures carved from stone that for centuries have been associated with cathedrals, castles, and the mysteries of the medieval world. But why do they exist? Why were places of worship, built to honor God, decorated with grotesque demonic creatures? And what ancient myths lie behind their creation? Tonight we uncover the true origins of gargoyles. Most people believe any monstrous stone figure on a cathedral is a gargoyle. But that isn't true. Technically, a gargoyle is a waterspout. The word comes from the Old French gargouille, meaning throat, itself derived from the Latin gula, meaning gullet. These figures were designed with channels carved through their backs, allowing rainwater to pour out of their mouths, keeping stone walls dry and protecting buildings from erosion. If a statue doesn't serve this purpose, it isn't a gargoyle. It's a grotesque. The difference may seem small, but it's crucial. Gargoyles were both practical and symbolic, protecting the physical structure while serving a deeper spiritual function. The earliest gargoyles appear not in medieval Europe, but in the temples of ancient civilizations. The Greeks and Egyptians carved lion heads into stone to act as spouts, channeling rain away from their sacred sites. These lions symbolize strength, courage, and divine protection. This tradition carried into the medieval era. The earliest surviving medieval gargoyles date back to around 1200 CE at the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, and to 1225 CE at the Cathedral of Leon in Spain. But while the ancient gargoyles were mostly lions and beasts, medieval gargoyles took on new, terrifying forms: hybrid monsters, disfigured humans, and demons. In the 12th century, the Saint Bernard of Clairvaux looked upon the strange figures covering cathedrals and asked, "What are these fantastic monsters doing in the cloisters, under the very eyes of the brothers as they read? What is the meaning of these unclean monkeys? These savage lions and monstrous creatures? Why are they placed here?" His question remains with us nearly 1,000 years later. Some scholars believe gargoyles acted as guardians, stone demons meant to frighten away real demons. In this way, they became sacred scarecrows, shielding holy places from evil spirits. Others argue they symbolize the sins and temptations that threaten mankind outside the walls of the church, reminding worshippers that salvation could only be found within. And still others believe their grotesque shapes were intended to appeal to pagan converts. By adopting symbols familiar to them, the church made Christianity less alien and easier to embrace. Heads, hybrid beasts, and gaping mouths all had significance in older pagan traditions, where they represented chaos, death, and spirits that devour the soul. But perhaps the most enduring legend of gargoyles' origins is tied not to symbolism, but to a dragon. In the 7th century, the French town of Rouen lived in terror of a beast called la gargouille. It dwelled in a cave by the river, emerging to flood the countryside, burn fields, and devour the townspeople. To appease the creature, the people offered human sacrifices, often criminals. But when Saint Romanus, the Archbishop of Rouen, arrived, he confronted the beast armed only with his cross. The dragon recoiled from the holy symbol, weakened and subdued. Romanus captured it, led it back to the city, and had it executed. The townspeople burned the creature, but its head and neck, hardened by its own fiery breath, would not turn to ash. Instead, they mounted the skull on the city gates as a warning to other monsters. From this legend, the first stone gargoyles were said to have been inspired. Dragon-like heads that not only carried rainwater away, but also symbolized humanity's victory over chaos and evil. For centuries, gargoyles watched over Europe from cathedrals and castles. They were painted, gilded, and set high above the streets. But as architecture changed, growing plainer, taller, and more functional, gargoyles disappeared. Today, most remain only on old Gothic cathedrals, preserved as eerie reminders of a different age. Were they protectors? Warnings of sin? Tools of conversion? Or monuments to a long-forgotten dragon slain by a saint? Perhaps they were all of these. What is certain is that gargoyles endure, frozen in stone, staring down at us through centuries of rain, time, and silence. So the next time you pass beneath one of these figures, ask yourself, is it merely stone, or is it something more? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this exploration into forgotten history and myth, subscribe to join us on the next journey into the mysteries of the past.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to get more content like this.